Hello and welcome to another MTD podcast. This is the podcast that goes live every Friday evening at 6 p.m, where we talk about everything we've been up to in the last few days and what's happening at the MTD Towers. I'm always joined by a couple of oi pollois. Today I've got Gio back on the set, and also Colin, who's been making a few appearances recently. Coming up in this week's show, we're going to be talking about where we've been this week, which includes visits to Seco, XYZ, Peco on the south coast, and also talking about 3D printing from Mark 3D that we're here in the studio with Joe. All that coming up in this week's show, and a little bit of chit chat along the way. Gio, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Paul. I didn't know what you called us there. What are they?
Oi pollois.
Oi pollois. Well, Colin can explain.
It's rude, basically.
Right, okay.
And I'm not sure we can actually say the description on what are we on? We're on audio, I suppose, aren't we?
And being filmed as well. So you can watch this on YouTube, or, of course, wherever you download your podcast from, you'll be able to download this too, whether that's Spotify, iTunes, or wherever. Yeah, so... Oi polloi one, Gio, you all right?
I'm very well, thank you, Paul.
You had a good week?
It's been a good week, yeah. Got quite a lot done this week. Not been on the road as much this week, but had a really good visit to Seco, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's been a great week, thank you.
Good. And you, Colin, you all right?
No, rubbish.
Yeah.
I don't like being called an oi polloi. That's tipped me right over the edge.
Well, you didn't like being called a compatriot last week.
Yeah.
Oi polloi.
I'll wait for next week. It's going to be really rude next week. No, it's all good, mate. All good.
I have to keep coming up with new ones. Now, we've got to start this show by talking about Mr. Deadman, who's obviously a fond friend of ours and a work colleague. He's got married this week to Claire. He was married on Tuesday, so congratulations to Mark.
Oh, what's happening? It's a Craig David song. What's happening on Sunday?
It was his 50th birthday as well.
No way. I thought he was much older than that.
Yeah, it was his 50th birthday. He met Claire, I believe, was it 10 years ago from that day?
Yeah.
And then they got married. So congratulations to them both. He's off to Cornwall this week. In fact, he's going where I've just driven back from this morning. Let's hope he has a better journey down the M5 than I had up it. So he got married this week. Do you know when he proposed? He did it to Neil Diamond.
Well, I thought he was getting married to Claire.
Yeah, who's Neil?
Sweet Caroline. That's a bit Neil Diamond.
And then you have the 3 rings of marriage. Do you know what the 3 rings of marriage are?
No.
Do you know what the 3 rings of
Yeah,
marriage
you hang up.
The engagement ring,
Yeah.
the wedding ring, and the suffer ring.
Oh, very, very. That's one of your better ones. I'll give you that one.
I've only got one of them so far.
The suffering. It's like you're not engaged, are you? You're not married.
I'm actually engaged, actually. I've got two of them.
When are you getting married, Gio?
It was supposed to have been the year in which 2019, when COVID broke out. Even though it was
last year that COVID broke out.
Was it last year, actually? 2020 was supposed to be...
If you get COVID, you know, it affects your... What was I going to say? It affects... Oh, I can't remember.
That's a little bit like when I was growing up, my fairy godmother actually said to me,
Get out.
do you want either a long penis or a long memory? I can't remember what the answer was.
That's terrible.
So congratulations to Mark. Anyway, I'm sure he will enjoy his honeymoon. Congratulations to them both. So let's kick off with your visit this week, Gio, to Seco. What was happening there?
So yeah, brilliant visit really. So Premier Machine Tools Ireland, we probably know about them as a company. They're agents for lots of different premium products, but they've now set up Premier Machine Tools UK, which has took on the sole agency for Tornos, and now Tornos has got a permanent residence at the Seco facility in the Innovation Hub. So now in this hub, not only will they get the benefits of people that might not have necessarily gone to look for a sliding head, be able to look at their products, but also to be able to offer them turnkey solutions, very fast response times. And it was an absolutely outstanding visit. The actual machine tool that they had on display at the time, they've turned it around in about a month, and that was a full turnkey. And it's got some real innovative features. I know, Colin, you're heavily involved with the sliding head industry, but with this particular model, you can have 4 tools in cut simultaneously. 4. It's completely...
What machine is it?
It's a Deco 60, Tornos Deco 60.
Wow.
But, and 4 tools, that could be milling or turning.
I've seen these machines. I've reviewed. This is the machine with 2 spindles. It's got the B-axis on it as well.
Yes.
And also the platen, so you can be machining at angles as well. Yeah. I've seen.
And they're trying to. You've reviewed a lot in the past, haven't you, Paul? The multi-spindles, which are absolutely phenomenal machine tools. I think they want to start bringing a lot more of them into the UK.
When you say multi-spindle, you mean main spindle, sub-spindle, or the actual multi-spindle?
Multi-spindle.
Right, okay.
So there's about 6 or 8 spindles, Paul?
Yeah, either or. You can choose either or. The fascinating thing about the multi-spindle machines that they build, and I've been to Moutier to see them, the biggest barrier to entry with those machines was the fact that people used to associate them with taking ages to set. You know, you need long runs. You need 50,000 off, 100,000 off. But a bit like sliding head lathe manufacturers, they've developed these machines to be able to quickly change the tools, to quickly change, every bit of the machine that you need to equip to do a part. You can now sort of break it down and have a new job running within sort of 30 to 45 minutes.
Really?
Before it was a day or 2 days. So now suddenly you can start tackling runs of maybe 500s and 1,000s off, which takes these machines into a completely new market. And the beauty of the multi-spindle is they're very easy to program. Actually, I've seen how you program them too. You program each spindle independently, and then the software just brings them all together. But basically the idea is to balance out each spindle to do an operation that might take 20 seconds. So each spindle does 6 operations.
I'll do the maths.
And you get a finished part
in 3 minutes.
The Tornos.
Come on, that's a maths gang. It's 2 minutes. So come on, guys, keep up.
Tornos, to me, they've obviously now out of Colville, and it's such a great machine. The technology that they offer, and going to Switzerland to see the amount of machines that they build. I'm sure with a little bit of maybe a change of guidance or how it's going to be run there, we may see a lot more.
I mean, I was quite flabbergasted. I mean, the visit was more about, the new home of Tornos. We met with David Dunn, so they're still keeping on all of the same personnel, all of the same skill.
When you say personnel, I thought Tornos didn't have any representation in the UK.
Yes, they
in terms of distribution.
They used to be in Colville, so they were a direct seller from Colville. There was David Dunn, there was John McBride, there was, they had over recent years they've had a good team of people, and quickly take people to Switzerland if you need to. But for some reason, the Swiss have decided that this is a better course of action, a better route.
And I think they're going to be throwing more resource at it. The lead times are going to be reduced. I think that they're going to have more control over the products themselves, rather than having to go to Switzerland for the turnkeys as an example. So lead times will be reduced. They'll be a lot more reactive, and like you say, they're welcoming people to bring projects to them.
So Seco will be working with
Seco.
them. Yeah.
Well, they've got the innovation hub there, where not only have they got accessibility to the cutting tools, to the work holding. Not that you really need the work holding on the sliding head, but they've got the coolants. Any kind of projects they can really overcome. And the software, Paul, on this new machine as well, very intuitive, a little bit how you described on the multi-axis. When you're cutting with full tools simultaneously, it's like writing 4 different programs, and then it just kind of merges it all together. So it's conversational, and so it's very simple. You're just writing 4 separate.
What controls is it running? Siemens, Fanuc, Mitsubishi?
I'm not sure.
It's their own control system. I've got it on the tip of my tongue. The software that they use, I've reviewed it, but
it's all big touchscreen.
Tornos NC.
No, it's a particular. But anyway, I'm sure you can find it. There's plenty of Tornos videos on the website from when we've been to Moutier. Moutier is a beautiful part of Switzerland as well.
I was really impressed with this new technology, though, Paul. It was something that I've never seen before.
I think it's the same machine that they had at EMO, I think, maybe a year or 2 ago. But I remember we were one of the first to see it in Moutier. So do wish them a lot of success there. I'm sure they'll sell a lot of machines. So still to come in this week's show, we'll be talking about XYZ, a new machine which has been launched. We'll talk about a visit I went to and did at Peco, where they make. Do you know what Peco make?
Yes,
you do.
Model railways.
Yeah.
I've seen your LinkedIn post.
I did. Yeah. Yes.
I didn't, but they make model railways, don't they?
And we'll also be talking about 3D printing. We've also got the week in review coming up, where we'll talk about the top 5 videos that have been on our website this week, and also other bits and pieces that have been in the news. I'm going to talk now about XYZ Machine Tools. I've literally just come back from Tiverton this morning. We were there pretty much most of the day yesterday, me and Chris.
You look drained. You had a day with Nigel.
Well, actually, I spent the evening with Nigel last night, but yesterday afternoon, Nigel had got a bit of a bad knee at the moment, so he was struggling to get from one end of the. Because I mean, it's huge. Have you've been to their place in Tiverton? It is massive.
Yeah.
It is massive.
Have they still got lots of stock?
They got a fair bit of stock, but they're doing really well. I mean, they've had an unbelievable year so far. So stock is not like what it was, but they've still got machines.
Like what it was.
It used to be
the thing
from
is,
one end to the other, it was just full of stock.
well, it's part of XYZ's business model, really, to equip themselves with enough stock to be able to service the market's demands quickly. You know, for XYZ to be thinking that someone's going to have to wait 3 or 4 months for a machine is unusual, because normally they're sold and delivered within
Unheard
2
of,
weeks.
really, Paul, isn't
That's
it?
the beauty of the XYZ.
Are they having? Sorry to interrupt. There's a lot of people saying there's stock issues at the moment, and across all sorts of different industries. You know, just even plain steel, aluminium.
It's the same for everybody.
So
it's the same
XYZ?
for everybody. Yeah, they've obviously still got machines, but they're facing similar issues. And I think everybody is in the same boat.
Yeah.
But what is good is that they've got this new machine that we looked at, which is the SS65 sub-spindle turning centre. Now, it's the first turning centre XYZ have produced with a sub-spindle.
Yeah.
So for them, this is like quite, this is where engineers are looking to go now, aren't they? One-hit machining, getting the parts off the machine without intervention. Now XYZ can offer this. It's a 65mm bar machine. It's got 100mm Y-axis, and it's got the Siemens shop turn control. And one of the things we did yesterday afternoon, and the reason I mentioned this is because you mentioned about the Tornos control, is Mark Higson from XYZ did a demonstration on how easy it is to program a sub-spindle machine. And I think one of the things that daunts or is daunting maybe to engineers that have not used this sort of technology before is they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get it, but am I going to crash it? Is it going to be hard to program? But it was so simple. Within sort of a minute, we did a demonstration where he turned apart, got all the transfer cycles in place, pulled the component over to the second spindle and implemented machining on the second spindle. And you could just see how simple it is, all touchscreen controls as well. They've got 2 machines there, both in stock. I don't think they'll be there long, to be honest.
I'm assuming twin turret as well then?
No, single turret.
Single turret.
Single turret,
right, okay.
yeah. I think what will be their market will be, there's so many XYZ users out there, and I said on one of the videos that people return to them because the value for money, the service and the support. You imagine all of those companies that haven't taken the plunge into sub-spindle machining. Now they've got, if they've got XYZs, it's a nice
2 companies I spoke to recently. One was LNR Precision. They bought and they've got a load of XYZs already. But he said, I got a B bills or C bills loan, whatever. But for the money, I could get that machine. I can't remember. It was a mill 3-axis. Can't remember which one. He said it was just such great value for money. Yeah. Another company, I won't name them because I can't remember. But they were like, for the money, it's absolutely. I got to have it.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I mean, the
brilliant.
value for money on XYZs and the range, their LR vertical machining centres, their heavy duty lathes, their tool room lathes, their Prototrack RMX and RLX machines.
This is going to open up new markets for XYZ, isn't it? Certainly. Yeah. I mean, the 5th axis machine wasn't that long back, 4 years ago.
They're having a real roll with those at the moment as well, which is
yeah.
not surprising. They've got they had 5-axis machines. They're being prepped to go out yesterday.
Oh, right.
And it's been about 2-3 years now.
4 years.
It's 4 years.
4 years in September, because I can remember it was the day that I started at MTD. My first visit was at XYZ Nuneaton when we were reviewing.
It was, yeah. We threw you at the deep end, didn't we?
Yeah, with Graham Cherry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that was my first visit.
Where's our Graham now?
well, that
reminiscing.
So that machine has been really successful for XYZ, and I'm sure this sub-spindle machine will be too. So and the other topic we're going to be talking about, one of the other things this week, is the 3D printing. I actually did come to the studio when Joe was here with Mark 3D this week, but I know you got a little bit more information on this, Colin, haven't you? Because
to be quite honest, I haven't.
3D printing, because
Joe said he said 15. It's actually because of content and things like that. They did 10 things you probably won't know about 3D printing, and you know what some of them are?
Yes.
Oh, good, because I don't. Because he said keep it under. Don't
well, I can
tell
you one, because when I came in here, I was greeted by 3 gentlemen and Joe, and also 2 3D printers, and they were actually in here printing, plugged in printing, and one of the and you'll both find this interesting. Actually, probably you more than Gio, because you're starting to work with Bistronic now, or Bistronic. They were printing the tools for bending machines.
Press brakes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So you know, on a press brake, you have to buy the tools and they're machined out of hardened tool steel and hardened. Now they're printing these because you can turn them around quickly. It's cheaper, and they're also very, very durable in the materials that they're printing them.
Really?
Often more durable than the metallic.
So is it SLA or SLS?
Both.
Okay,
Yeah,
you don't know.
one of each. Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone recently about additive manufacturing for the medical industry as well. Some of the work that they're doing for like knee joints, hip joints, so on and so forth. And some of these 3D printed parts are porous. So effectively in the body, they react better to. So when you've got growths of, when it's kind of what's the word? To become part of your body, it's better that way than, for it to be a solid piece of...
So they're printing them as opposed to...
Yeah, so they've started, correct me if I'm wrong, but they've started to 3D print parts, medical parts,
Right.
and they're getting better results because what's the word I'm looking for? They react better to your body rather
because
than
of course, if it's metal, the body rejects it.
Yes, and in when the tissues are growing, it's kind of going into it more. I don't know.
It's more like a bone structure than actual metal. Yeah,
and it's lighter. And some of the
so could it make me run faster if I have my joints replaced?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, Carl's had two done.
Carl's
hips.
creamer,
yeah, titanium. You do put on weight because obviously it's much heavier than your.
Yeah.
What about when he goes to the airport? Buzzers going off everywhere.
I think this 3D printing, Joe, as you rightly said, there's going to be a lot of videos. I know they spent the whole day here with the machines actually in action, making parts, talking about the technology.
They could bring them in and get them running. I mean, absolutely brilliant.
Are they 3D printed metals, Paul?
No, this was plastics.
Just plastic.
Yeah.
Well, I was chatting with a prospect for MTD Network the other day who do 3D printing. When I say SLA and SLS, wasn't being a smart so-and-so, it's because there's two types. You've got the printing, which is, I think that's SLA, and SLS is a sintering, where you're burning powder away with a laser. Someone will probably correct me on that because I'm probably completely wrong, but there's different types.
There's plenty of different types, yeah.
Absolutely.
And we've got some good technical corners actually on the different variants, and I hate to use that word because that's one word that seems to be used too much in the news at the moment. But there is
different variants.
There is lots of different ways to 3D print. Okay. Week in review. This is something we do every week where we talk about what's been on the MTDCNC website and the top 5 videos this week. When it comes to the top 5, I mean the videos with the most traffic. In the number 5 spot is the TT1300 review that I did with Tony Dale, which is a Doosan.
Are they all going to be your videos, Paul?
Well, you'll have to wait and see. It's the TT1300 twin spindle, twin turret machine review I did with Tony Dale. That's collated thousands of views this week. There's also the review that we did, Gio, at number 4 at Colchester, or on a Colchester machine at ProDrive. Their multi-axis lathes, that one we walked around and looked at the 2 different lathes that people might not associate Colchester machine tools with. They now make multi-axis, Y-axis, twin spindle machines. People always think Colchester turning the handles,
but not anymore. CNCs,
all full CNCs. So
and who supplied the Colchester?
Colchester machine.
It is Colchester. Okay.
Colchester Machine Tool Solutions. So, and we've also got another video coming to the channel. In fact, over the weekend from them at ProDrive, the video in detail about the partnership.
Now, ProDrive was the one they got all the old motors and things like that, haven't they?
Yes, that's right.
And new motors. So they work quite heavily with the racing industry.
Nice. Yeah. Hence the name, I suppose. I'll get the coat.
It's a really good video, that one. But that was in at number 4. Number 3.
This is better than Top of the Pops.
Number 3 was Gio's video with on the Haas programming that you did, which has done exceptionally well as well.
Did that take... we need to mention this. Did that have a lot of animation stuff in the background?
No, not really.
Oh, I thought...
No, not at all, really. I think Ben explained it really well, actually. I think it was more of a case that the control is exactly the same. So, for example, if you were a Haas user from 20 years ago, all of the buttons are in the same place, so you've still got a very good understanding of the control. But internally, all of the software has evolved, so you've got some real new nice features that you can use. It's like a bit of a inbuilt CAD system, really, so it can simplify the programming even further. Just illustrating how the system or the control has evolved, and it's Haas's own control, similar to how we mentioned Tornos' control. I think we should do a podcast on programming coming up soon.
I'm busy that week.
I mean, this week alone, so you've done talk about Tornos with their control.
Yeah.
I was actually with Steve Alker, who runs Essential Engineering Solutions on Tuesday, where we were doing some programming videos on FANUC, on how you use manual guide, how you program in G codes, talking through the G codes. There'll be really strong pieces and very educational for people that want to know more about CNC. And then, of course, you've done the video that's done really well at number 3 this week with the Haas programming solution. I've done one at XYZ as well, looking at so people need to know, don't they? They want to see. I think it is a big fear factor for some that they don't want to change controls from one manufacturer to another. They get comfortable with what they're doing, but actually these things to adapt from one to another is
one
pretty
thing I've
easy.
got to say with the controls, they are becoming so much easier to use because they're more conversational now, aren't they? So they're prompting you. They're actually asking you a question rather than you having to figure out exactly how to program it from start to finish. The cycles, the inbuilt cycles, the pecking cycles, the pocket cycles, all of the different cycles really simplify the programming.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Colin does pecking at the weekend.
Tries to.
Heavy pecking.
Oh,
Or is it heavy petting? One of the two.
I'm not prepared to comment, Paul. But you're not invited.
Number two slot was prime turning from Sandvik, a video that Joe did here as a technical corner. Do you know what prime turning is?
It is cutting both sides, two sides at the same time?
No, it's when you turn backwards. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Ball nose cutter going
Ball nose
back and
backwards.
forth.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can't, going forwards and backwards.
Yeah, bi-directional, a bit like you.
Oh, wow. You can say it's 2021. You can say that, Paul. Absolutely. But when you say prime turning, why can't you do that previously?
I just well, you can. You have been able to do it for some time, but I think it's a technology that people aren't using enough,
right?
Because it can cut literally cycle times in half.
Yep.
Well, you're always in
tool wear because you're using both sides of the tool. So many benefits to it. And in number 1 spot this week with a whopping 6,500 plus views. It was not Colin. It was a video from Delau. And Joe did with for Mazak at Delau, where they were loading one of their Mazak machines. And I think we've mentioned this on the podcast before. They're loading their machines with a cobot. I think they invested 25 grand in this.
That's right. It was not a lot to automate it, was it? Yeah.
And it's turned this thing into an unmanned running solution. So we've had a whopping 236,000 engagements on our content this week. It's always good to know that our audience is growing. The podcast that was on the MTDCNC site this week was one you did with Williams, wasn't it?
Yeah, Williams Racing.
With Al. I haven't yet listened to that, but I know. But
it was Joe was involved in that too, Joe Reynolds. So it was from when we were at the Myra Institute, where we were doing the educational day alongside Zeiss and Williams Racing, and Al was kind enough to kind of come in and do a podcast with us, and it was brilliant because it was quite insightful. Really, it was about how we believe that the future of engineering is all down to the next generation of engineers, and how we've got to try and do our parts to kind of get them into the industry. I think Formula One automatically attracts the young generation of engineers, but the rest of the engineering industry, I think, unfortunately, doesn't attract them in the same way. And I think that it's still at the forefront of technology. And MTD as well, Paul, and you, Colin, with your network, are doing stuff with the digital CVs and working alongside educational. So I think we're all working all on the same path anyway.
Listing jobs on MTD network. Can I add a couple of videos?
Yeah, I've still got a few more to go. But that was the top 5. The podcast was from Williams. You can download that on whatever podcast platform that you.
He does talk about the race team as well. So if you're interested in the Williams race team and Formula One team, he does touch upon that too.
Go on, add your points.
No, that's it, I'm done. No, what it was, a couple of things. Citizen Open House is in October. We're starting to work on that very soon. So in terms of trailers,
can we come back to that? Because I just need to finish this week in review. Because what happens is, if you're watching this, we obviously film this podcast, but we cut this bit of the week in review out, and that is hosted on the platform too, so people can just find out what we've been up to.
2 things in, if I can do that then, if that's right.
On this week, other videos and stories on the MTDCNC website in the last 7 days. DMG Maury's partnership with Red Bull Racing, Honda, a couple of technical corners and stories from you at PSL software, which is probably one that you may have mentioned in a sec. The iGroove from Sodic. This video has been released. It's been heavily talked about last week, actually, on the show, where the wire turns when you're on the wire EDM machine to give better surface finish and better tolerances. Unbelievably,
so the wire is actually
spinning. Unbelievably, I was at a company, Peco, which we'll talk about in a minute as well, and the guy actually came up to me and he said, I've seen some photos on social media about Sodic's thing from you guys. When's that video going live? And it actually went live yesterday, but they use Sodic machines, and then actually going up to Coventry to look at it as well.
Right.
Prima Power, if you're interested in bending, forming, fabrication, sheet metal, then we've got a technical corner with Barry Rooney that's just been released on the channel yesterday from Prima Power. The UK launch of the Matsura MAM 7252V, that video was also released. Cutting Blue and their use of Hoffman tools has also been released on the channel this week, so lots to see there. Plus, also finally, the Fanuc C600 IC EDM machine, a new machine which is
you've missed out one of the best videos of the week,
and the one that you're going to mention, which
you mentioned PSL data track. That ties in nicely because I was chatting to someone about PSL data track the other day. No, I wasn't initially chatting away, finding out about the EEI. So we do the Engineering Economic Indicator, which has been going since 2020. And the results are in for June. So I know it's August now. It takes a bit of a while to get it filmed and everything like that. Engineering is at almost a high for this month. It really is. So, and it's been positive throughout 2021, which is absolutely fantastic. But I was asking him about his EEI indicator score, and I said, "Well, why are you so? Oh, we're really busy, Colin. You know, we're scoring probably 75, 80." I said, "Well, why are you so busy?" He goes, "Because we're too cheap." I won't say who it is because people will be on the phone to him. I said, "Well, why are you too cheap?" "Oh, quoting. Oh, it takes." I said, "Just why are you not using some software like PSL Daytrack?" "Oh, I don't know. I never really thought." Just get on the phone to him, sorted. So,
another
simple things like
another installation for Jeff.
Potentially. But so that ties in with the PSL data track video and the Engineering Economic Indicator. If I could say that EEI, it's a lot easier.
So this week's Week in Review. There's the top 5. There's the other videos that have been on our channel and released on our channel this week that you can go to the MTDCNC website and view. So I'm going to talk now about Peco, which was a company I visited on Thursday morning, where they make the model railways. And it was sometimes you go on these visits and you're just awe-inspired, right? Where you go in and you just go, wow. Oh, that's how they make them. You don't even think about it. How many people that buy? I mean, you've got a model railway, haven't you?
Yeah, in the loft. It's the whole loft. It's just a massive model railway. Yeah. No. When you say model railway, serious question, though, because I didn't see your post. Yeah. What size? Because I was chatting to someone else who does model railways, but it might be slightly different to yours.
So it's just hobbyist stuff. So I suppose track, like the track that's like that.
Right. So like your Hornby from my
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be a direct competitor.
Right.
So Peco make everything from the tracks to the trains to the houses, the little men, and all that sort of stuff. And they've got an exhibition centre there. And when you go into this exhibition centre, it basically gives you, like when you go into IKEA, the only thing I can liken it to is when you go into IKEA.
You can't get out.
and you walk in.
You've got to buy a hot dog.
And you walk in and they lay the rooms out so they don't just show you the furniture. They actually put it in like the bunk beds or curtains in the position of a child's bedroom or whatever it might be. And in here, what they do is they've got settings, so like a loft. So they've got a loft in there, and they show you how to put this train track in your loft and cut the wood and where you put the wood. And then they've got a kid's bedroom. That's why I said kid's bedroom, where they've got a train track that runs right round the outside of the kid's bedroom.
Oh, brilliant!
The inside wall of the kid's bedroom, and basically the beds are underneath it. And they've got ones for the shed, and they've got ones. So you go in there and you go, oh, actually, I've got a loft. I'm going to do that in my loft. And you can buy all the gear from Peco to then build these model railways in your loft.
So what were you reviewing, if I could say that, or did you just go to have a look
because I'm a railway fanatic? Yes. No, I was going there
to train a lot, to be fair.
Yeah,
well, he does. He's in the stadium. He doesn't train at all. I'll use the train. Sorry.
I was going because they've got a tool room where they make the tools. So the process is basically, take the track, for example, they mould these. They've got injection moulding machines there, and they've got probably a dozen of them. But they make all the tools for the injection moulding machines. And these tools, you wouldn't. I mean, this was the fascinating thing. They've got a Roders machine from Peco. It's got a 42,000 RPM spindle. It machines to 2-3 microns over a 12-15 hour period.
Machine. I've seen
An
that.
unbelievably accurate machine. It's got cooling in the spindle that's continually stopping the spindle from growing. It's got thermal compensation on it so you can maintain these tolerances. And it sits just on 4 feet or 4 sort of, so it's not bolted to the floor. And I mean, I don't know how quite right this is, but the guy I was talking to, and if it is wrong, I apologise, but it sounds great. The guy I was talking to said he when he was being sold the machine, he said, do I not need to bolt it down? They said, no, the machine will move. The machine moves when it's machining because it kind of, to exaggerate it, it wobbles. But there's so much intelligence and compensation in it that it eradicates all of that.
And still holds 2 microns.
And still holds 2 microns.
Wow.
So a lot of people would think to hold 2 microns and to get a machine to perform in that way, you'd have to bolt it down. It's got to be 20 tons. None of that. This is all done with clever electronics and software, and it will maintain those tolerances day in, day out. And they've had it since 2019, and it has been brilliant for them. They've also got a Peco VM5, which does all the roughing of the tool steel, and then they use the Roders for the finishing. But I said to him, I'm not being funny.
Correct, with no change in.
Railway tracks. Why does a tool need to be that precise for a bit of railway track? Who? Because and they do a wire EDM process as well, where they go in and they where they can't machine it because it's a square edge. They make these square edges. I'm saying, why don't you just make the edges rounded? Who would care if the track had a little bit of rounding on it?
Sacrilege.
So yeah. So this machine was delivering to these tolerances, and the surface finishes were just fantastic. But also the reason.
But why do you have to have it at those tolerances and square edges and things?
Because they're fanatics, and and they want to make the best. Perfectionists. They want to make the best possible product, but also the tool lasts longer.
Oh, if it's got square edges?
No. If it's more precise. So when you look at male and female interaction of
that sort of
tool,
podcast.
The alignment between the two and the accuracy between the two tools, if something's a little bit out, then it's not going to last. It'll wear.
For the track, when they're mating the track.
Yeah,
pieces.
so they're mating.
So basically, longevity.
They've got a female and a male tool that comes in and bang, and then a bit of track drops out the bottom, and it just keeps going bang. And if
those machines are amazing. They're just and just popping out these things. It's just,
yeah, and there was 4 ladies there that were basically taking the plastic track, and then they put the metal bits from the plastic track in it, put it into bang, comes out. I mean, we filmed the whole thing.
They have to actually guide the metal into
Yeah. There was 4 of them sitting there all day. I thought to myself, oh God, that must be just
worse than listening to one of your jokes.
Drive you around the bend, wouldn't it? You'd go to sleep.
Drive you down the track, wouldn't it?
You'd go to sleep. All you'd be thinking of is trains and stuff. So it really was a brilliant visit. And we've got the reviews on the Peco and also the Roders machine.
The Roders machine, did it have pallet system on it, Paul?
No.
Was it? No. Because they're quite small working envelope, aren't they?
Yes, yeah. But there was no pallet system on that.
I'm going to interject quickly.
You can.
Very quick. Only because I was chatting to a prospect for MTD Network, and they do trains. The company's called 17D. They're not a customer. I'm going to plug them anyway. But they do trains like sit-on trains, not like the big normal trains, because obviously that's sit-on train. Yeah. But the ones you like kids playground things where you've got a little mini steam train, you sit on it.
They've got that there as well.
Oh, really?
They do that.
Brilliant.
But there's actually a theme park there.
Oh.
So basically,
quite a big place.
It is a big place, because when we were there, I had to be in there at 8:30 to
get a
film,
ticket
to film, because all the public were arriving at 9:00, and of course you can't be in there filming when the public are arriving. So it was tremendous. And I have to say, fair play to Chris, our cameraman, as well. He had to be there at Hopper and he was there at Hopper as well, and he had to drive. It was a hell of a drive. It was in a place called Beer.
Is that near Wine?
No, it's a place of beer in Seaton. So it's been a fantastically busy week once again.
Brilliant.
I'm glad to be at the end of it, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me on this podcast. Have you got anything that you want to add? Yes,
very quickly. Some good news stories really. Ministry of Defence have bought Sheffield Forge Masters for 2.6 million.
Yes, I heard that,
which is great. So that's specialist steel for the defence applications. Hopefully they can sort out the new British Forces tank, which I heard on the grapevine, well, news is an absolute disaster, but don't quote me on that. And then Rolls-Royce has agreed to sell Bergen engines for £53.6 million.
Okay.
So that's all I got. So a bit more good news, which is on the MFG site.
MFG website. I know Joe Reynolds was on with Michelle Dewberry as well this week at
And
6.
Will Watson. Will Watson was on there.
Oh, was Will?
Yeah.
Hey, Will was on the news.
No, not on the news, on the podcast. Sorry.
No, he was. He was Britain's most wanted.
Also, the MTD magazine, the July issue. You can go to the MTDCNC website if you don't currently get a copy and register for that. It's got plenty of good stories, similar to the ones that we've been talking about.
And you can watch the videos linked to the stories.
You can.
Brilliant.
With the
One
QR
last thing,
codes.
whilst we're on the subject of podcasts, on Monday, the Haas podcast going to be released that you, Lindsay, and I did
that's a great
at
podcast,
at the Haas workshop. So that's a fantastic workshop. It's about racing Formula One cars and making CNC machines. So make sure you listen to that one. It's a good one.
Good stuff. Keep tuned to the channel, and we'll see you again same time next week.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.